Thank you.
From the Gettysburg Museum of History Studios,
You're listening to Addressing Gettysburg.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this special live stream of Addressing Gettysburg. It is the 30th anniversary of the movie Gettysburg, and we have some people who you might recognize. To my left, his interview came out just this week. Here's Dale Fetzer. He is the military choreographer.
That's right. Yeah.
On the movie. And to my right is John Rothman, who played General John Reynolds. Hello, John.
Hello.
Welcome. It's great to have you guys here. Dale, you were here last time when we were in the shed. That was our studio,
yeah,
right? So this is much. It's a great improvement.
It's a huge improvement. Yeah.
Thank you. And then, John, this is your first time, and I'm sure it's the biggest highlight of your career.
There you are. Yeah.
I had to rent a couple of bicycles when you were here, remember?
Yeah, that's right. You did. So John, real quick, you wanted to say something about the strike and.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if your listeners are aware, but
they're aware.
Okay, so there's right now the actors are on strike against the what's called the AMPTP. It's the producers and movie producers, but mostly streamers, the
like Netflix
Amazon, and I'm on the negotiating committee, so I'm way too familiar with the issues and what's going on. The negotiations, I was in LA last week, negotiating with the CEOs of Disney, Amazon, not Amazon, Disney, Netflix, Warner Brothers, and Universal across the table. And on Wednesday, the negotiations fell apart. We were too far apart. And at the moment, the actors are back on the picket line and waiting to resume the negotiations.
Okay.
What's relevant to say is that part of the rules of the strike, during the strike, actors are not supposed to be promoting products of the AMPTP.
Okay.
Gettysburg, well, I mean, it was Turner, it's Warner Brothers. It is associated with AMPTP. If you want to buy Gettysburg now, you do it on Amazon or Amazon Prime. So technically, I am not supposed to be doing anything to promote the movie.
Okay.
Let me say, in the context of this weekend and the 30th anniversary, I don't need to promote this movie.
No.
Everybody here is here because they love this movie, because they have a relationship with this movie.
Yeah.
I'm not saying to people, oh, you should come out and buy this movie. They own this movie.
Exactly.
So I don't see a conflict. And it's interesting. I was just doing an autograph signing for hours today, and I was texting my wife about it a little bit, and she said, are these people movie buffs or history buffs? And I haven't answered her yet, but they're both. But history, I would say, first.
Yes.
Their relationship is with Gettysburg and the Battle of Gettysburg more than with a movie. The movie may have inspired them to be interested in Gettysburg. This weekend that we're participating in is a benefit for the Gettysburg, for a museum in Gettysburg, for preserving and not just preserving the memory of Gettysburg, but making Gettysburg and what happened here a part of people's lives. And in this moment in our history, it seems incredibly important to be reminded of the sacrifices that people made to save our democracy and our country.
I agree.
And so that's sort of why I'm here. And I've been here for a day or so, and it's been very reinforcing in those terms. I mean, the people that I've met and what's going on here, and listening to Ron Daniels, the director, this morning, and Stephen Lang and Tom Berenger, the sort of stars of this movie, which I am not, talk about it and their relationship to it and the fact that they're here.
Yeah.
It's been inspiring, frankly. So
It is inspiring, and it has inspired a lot of us. I mean, I would not be sitting here talking to you today if this movie never was made.
But let me say,
ahead.
and I'll
Go ahead.
then we'll move off the strike. But one of the issues in the strike, one of the key issues in the strike, has to do with AI.
Yeah.
And the use of digital replicas, which now they can replicate an actor, in 10 minutes and have a digital replica. And how they use that is something that we're extremely concerned about.
Sure.
More for background actors than for actors like me. I mean, but background acting, what makes this movie work to a great extent are the 3,000 this morning they were talking, I was surprised that they were talking about Pickett's charge, 5,000.
5,500.
5,500
Yeah.
human beings, people. And that even if they're just shooting a gun and fighting a battle, they're people. And it registers on some, there actually are, there's studies that even if you can't tell, if you think it looks like a person, if it's not, you know it.
Yes.
In some
Absolutely.
way.
Yeah.
But whether they can, Chat GPT at some point can make it so you really can't tell. The reason this movie, what was happening on those battlefields, what was happening, all right, I'm skipping ahead to like my experience.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like one of the things that I'll never forget was the first time I rolled the horse out on that battlefield, and it was the second unit.
Yep.
It wasn't even the main thing. It was the second unit. They were just shooting the battle scenes, and it was, not. It was the day that I was shot, but I didn't do that day. I was just, riding on the battle. But as soon as I came on the battlefield, I don't know, hundreds, thousands of men are saluting me and saying, "General Reynolds, sir, huzzah!"
Yeah.
And it was like suddenly I was transported into like the reality, the level of reality and of commitment that was in that space. That is an energy that gets absorbed into the acting, and you feel it on the screen.
Absolutely.
You feel
Absolutely
it.
shows.
That's
Absolutely shows right through the screen.
and that's because obviously it's a lot cheaper for the studios to use computer-generated people than real people. They don't have to feed them or take care of them or anything like that.
Right.
So the incentive from a bottom line profit thing, you can see that there would be a strong incentive to use that, and to use it in all kinds of ways. So that's a big issue, and we have not come to terms on that. And we have also not come to terms on money issues, which is, the basic overriding thing is that streaming residuals, the streamers, which is what how most people are consuming movies and media and everything and more. The way that we're paid for that work is not sufficient to live, to be a professional artist,
right?
To pursue this, because you don't work, you work sporadically. You have this job, and then you are off for, until you find your next job.
Right, yeah.
But the residuals, the money that is paid when you had, just say Gettysburg. This morning, I'm signing VHS covers, DVD covers. Theatrical releases all over the world on airplanes, and that's when you make your listeners won't know this, or maybe they do, but I'm going to tell you. When you make a movie, you're paid, where the money that they pay you to make it is the initial release. Mm-hmm. The theatrical release of a movie, you don't make any residual. Residual is ancillary. It's something that you make down when your movie is sold to a television network.
Okay.
So when the maker of the movie sells it or makes a deal to get it on the movie of the week, that licensing fee is divided. Part of it is divided among the actors.
Okay.
And you get a payment. When they sell a certain number of DVDs or VHS, a certain million or whatever, you get a little cut of that. And you get a cut of everything down
Merchandise
the road.
Yeah.
So I'm still making, 30 years later, I still get residuals. I mean, they're small, but they're residuals for that movie. Make a movie for Netflix. I'm not allowed to promote a Netflix product, so I can't say that I'm in a fantastic Netflix series now that I can't even tell you.
Right.
Look it up. But a Netflix series, you make that, and it's one day. It was released on August 10th. There's another hint. And it was the #1 Netflix scripted drama in the world, and it was released in every country in the world except China on the same day. No ancillary right, no VH, nothing.
So you get paid for just doing the job, and then that's it.
No, we have a system for paying you residuals quarterly based on the number of subscribers, and there's a bonus if it's Netflix because it has the most subscribers.
Okay.
But the math doesn't work. I mean, it's not enough to make up for the other thing. It's not. So it's a question of, okay, we need a rate. We need to up that money, and maybe because of the fact that there isn't a long tail, there aren't ancillary rights, we should be paid more to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, the minimum should be more.
Right.
And the other thing that's happened in show business is it used to be every time you did a job, you had a quote. This was your day quote. This was your week quote. And then the next job, they would bump it up a little bit. And then you would get to, your quote would be, oh, we can't hire you because your quote is too much.
Yeah.
And they say, okay, well, no quote for this job. But now, if you're a star, you make plenty of money. If you're just a day player, if you're a journeyman actor, if you're a guy who goes from job to job and you do character parts in movies and you do guest stars on television shows, all of that kind of work, they want everybody to make scale.
Okay.
They don't want to pay your quote anymore. So that makes it tough. So the scale better be enough.
Right.
And
it's so complicated. I need a painkiller.
I know.
And we brought them directly from the hospital just for you.
Oh, thank you.
From the sack list.
So, but here's a question that I've been wondering though since this strike started. Cable, okay, HBO, let's say. You have a movie that plays on HBO. How does that work? Do you get residuals for that?
Yes, sure.
So, but when I watch
residuals, so as these technologies have evolved, we do contract negotiations every 3 years.
Okay.
And as these technologies evolve, well, okay, we better come up with another structure for that. And cable, one of the things. And this is one of the arguments that we have with the producers, with the AMPTP, is and I remember because I'm old and I was around, when cable first, they said, it's this thing, we're not sure where this business is going. We don't know who's going to do it. Well, give us a break now till we figure out how this business works. We're going to give you less. We're going to give you way less than we gave you for a network. But nobody's watching this. Nobody has cable. We'll just be our partners and help us get this off the ground. Then when suddenly, wait a minute, everybody's got cable, they say, well, sorry, you made a deal where, no, we're not coming back and renegotiating this. So it's always been a sticking point, and more than cable, like DVD residuals. Hollywood was, the money was pouring in, and we weren't getting a share of it, and that really traumatized the actors union because that happened when there was a time. I mean, it's gone, but DVD was like ruled the world. They were printing money, and we weren't. So they're saying it's not going to happen again. We're going to get ahead of this. Everything is going to be streaming, and we want to make we want our share. But you've got a situation where streamers are losing money. They're not. It's a business. Their business model based on subscribers is questionable. Only Netflix claims to actually make a profit. It's very complex.
And is there a way to audit Netflix to see how many views your work is getting?
It's a big issue. Transparency is a big issue.
Okay.
We assume, and we know, they know how many. Sure. They totally know.
Yeah.
And companies like Nielsen will tell you, when this not to be named product of the AMPTP was released that I was in,
right.
I could follow it online and see how many people, and I was like, holy God. The world, we were talking the week, one of the week where it was number one, minutes watched, over 1 billion.
Wow.
Minutes watched in the world. And so we're trying to design a residual that reflects how many minutes watched.
But so here's my question, though. So, okay, cable, right?
Yeah.
All right, you got your deal with cable. Then comes on demand. And so now I don't have to wait until HBO plays your movie. I can go and find it and watch it anytime I want to.
Right.
So what did they do there?
You got it, buddy. No, this is a very big question.
Yeah.
Because how do you can't just say this HBO show that I'm in brought in this much money or brought in these many subscribers.
Right.
Because if I'm already a subscriber to HBO Max,
how do you know?
I watch anything I want.
And I'm not paying per view.
Right.
So
exactly.
so there's nothing to give you because they're not receiving anything.
It's really that's their argument, and that's true.
Right.
And when we tried to figure this out, bring in a third party, a thing called Parrot Analytics, that claims to be able to figure out how many people subscribed. They claim to be able to figure out how much of individual show contribute to the bottom line, the revenue of the whole thing.
Okay.
But nobody, they claim it, but it's highly. We're not any longer pursuing that. But eyeballs, yes, we can know, or minutes watched. So how many minutes watched, how many versus how many subscribers,
right.
and monetize it somehow, the minutes watched. That's what we're trying. That's what we're trying to do. But the reason that we're stuck, the reason that the negotiations have broke off and the strike is continuing is because we haven't figured it. We figured it out,
right.
but they don't buy it.
They don't see it
They're
your
not
way.
saying, no, this doesn't work. And we haven't come up with a formula.
So, but the thing now back to the AI thing, because I hear what you're saying about the extras, right? But I've seen, videos that people make with, the rudimentary AI that we have now of like Tom Cruise giving an interview that he didn't actually give or something like that. And it's believable. So,
buddy, you think that's good? How about the people, the voice actors, AI can copy your voice, all the tones, your thing, and replace a voice actor.
I've seen that too.
There's
an Instagram account I follow called AI Beatles, and they make up Beatle-esque songs, and you would swear it's Paul McCartney singing it.
Yeah,
it's creepy.
Yeah,
but someday they will do this with a star's face, right?
Totally. No, already they're doing it. Harrison Ford, and they're already in whatever the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
But they're not making a new film with Harrison Ford's face yet. But that's the fear,
Carrie
right?
Fisher in.
Oh.
But here's the answer. What we're saying, and I think they're not disagreeing. It's just working out what are the numbers. We're asking for consent,
right,
and compensation,
which makes sense. If I want to use your face, John Rothman,
Right.
to promote my show and I want to sell something with your face on it, I can't just go online and grab a picture of you and put it there and then say, you know, buy this whatever with John's face on it. I'd have to get permission from you and I would have to compensate you for that.
Right.
And so I don't understand how they think that they can just grab your face from anything that they've
No, but they were I mean, to give you like the thing that they said that was just like so unbelievable that they would even attempt it, and it's no longer, they withdrew it. But talking about background actor, comes in for a day, we're going to scan you, and we're going to make a digital replica, and we're going to use it. And the first thing they said, we'll pay you. We'll tell you we're doing this. You have to consent, or you consent or you don't, and we'll pay you for a day's work for the scan. And then we'll use that. We can use that scan in perpetuity in anything you want.
So not just this one film,
Excuse
anything.
me, you've been paid for one day, and then you'll never work again because they have the digital
That's
replica.
insane.
So that's insane. And they withdrew that. But now where they are is we'll scan you. You come in for a day that you're working, you're making a thing, we'll scan you. If it's a working day, we'll pay you for the day, and then we'll pay you half that for the scan. And then we can use it in that picture.
Yeah.
We can use it for you in that picture. And we say, okay, sure, you can use it, but pay me. If you're using it, you know, pay me my day rate for every day that you're, or I think the way that we've come up with it, which really makes sense, is where they end up, minutes used in the finished minutes in the film.
Okay.
We'll pay you for that. So if that character, that guy is in Gettysburg, getting back to Gettysburg, if you're a Union soldier, but in September all the kids went back to school, so now you have to be a Confederate soldier, and you're on screen in 10 minutes or something. Each of those minutes gets paid.
So I understand from the producer's point of view, you want to save money, all that other stuff. I get that. But now here's the moviegoer's point of view, this moviegoer's point of view. I don't want to see computer John Rothman perform. I want to see real John Rothman perform. So the story, when I watch a movie, the story, of course, matters, right? The direction, all that stuff matters. But what I want to see is my favorite actors performing a new performance. A computer doing it with their scanned face does nothing for me. I won't watch these movies. I would rather go back and watch a 30-year-old movie like Gettysburg.
Right.
Or Ghostbusters.
Right. They're saying, and there's a whole category that we're talking about in this thing called the synthetic performer.
Yeah, who wants that?
And their limitations on synthetic performers mean altering the John Rothman to make him a villain or make him another thing. And then, which of course I would have to give permission to do it, and I never would. But what if you're making up a character out of, it's not a person, it's a character you're creating, a synthetic character. Anyway, it's very complicated. Yeah. But what you're saying is absolutely, key and true. And I think it's not, I think it's generally true that people want to see act. And one of the things that the DGA, the directors say, and the people say, you're making a big deal out of this, and it's not really a threat because filmmakers want to work with actors. That's the job. That's their art.
But over a certain age. So that's the thing.
Yes,
is the younger people coming up, they're used to phone. Everything is virtual in their world.
Yep.
From the moment they're born. So when they get into filmmaking, they would rather work with computerized John Rothman because John Rothman, the man, is a real person and they don't have people skills. And so they can't work with people. So they would rather go with the synthetic thing. So for now, you get people, you can see both sides of the story, but there's going to come a time where all of us that understand the analog world are going to be gone. And these kids are going to, and so it's future generations of actors that you guys are really fighting for here. Because I think there's still enough people out there who are not going to consume this crap.
Right.
And so they want to see real things. They want to see real people doing
and
something.
one of the, this is very true what you're saying, but one
Thank
of
you.
the limit, how do you limit it, since they actually can do it? I mean, it's available to them, but one of the ways to do it is you make it more expensive. You make it more expensive to use the computer-generated John Rothman than the real John Rothman.
Yeah, you should.
And then so that's kind of strategically what we're doing.
Would they? I mean, and I know there's more than one way to do this, but is the idea that they would take your scanned face and put it on an unknown actor who's got a cheaper day rate? Is that the idea? And then just have him do all the...
the idea is maybe they would want to, but our idea is they cannot use my face or my voice without my permission and without compensating me at first it's consent, second is compensation. And the so and you not only you are the union building in limits, but you'll have you can ask for a lot of money for it and or not. But it's I mean, certainly there are actors who are going to say they'll never do it. They'll never give their consent, and there are actors who will, and we'll see.
Well, and then the thing with the consent though is if let's say, I don't know, let's say get to a point where they're like, okay, well, here's the thing. And for whatever reason, you guys don't get your way, but you got to get back to work. Everybody gets to get back to work. You come to some agreement that's not the best. And part of it is that clause is in the contract. We can use your face in perpetuity. My question is this, though. What's to stop all the actors from saying no? And then, I mean, yeah, they don't work, but the producers don't get your image, and then they're going to have to go with people who are unknown.
That's what they would have to go with non-union actors, but they don't want to do. I mean, I don't know. It's complicated. No, because when you're talking about, and it is very interesting to talk about in the context of Gettysburg and the reenactors. Yeah. Because if you're talking about background, their ability to replace background with CGI. I mean, we already know they already have it. They can already fill a stadium with, but they're using a certain number. They have to use on a feature film. I believe they have to use like 80. I forget exactly.
And then they can just copy and paste them.
And then they do. It's called tiling. They can. They can do it. And for a stadium full of people, it just doesn't really matter. But what you're just saying, taking what you just say, that's why we're on strike, because the background is saying, no, we're not agreeing to this idea that you can scan us and use us for, or whatever. We're trying to come up with a thing that they will agree to. If they didn't withdraw this thing about we could use your image in perpetuity, if that stayed in there, we would never, I mean, you would...
you wouldn't get to, I know, but I'm making up a scenario.
Yeah, well, it's scary because you don't know what's the end game. Yes, they could use, in background, they could use non-union. I mean, they're right-to-work states in this country where, but they can't because the union, because the background are members of the union, they can't use me. They can't use any SAG-AFTRA. They could use all the non-union background they want, but they can't use any union actors. They can't use any name actors. They would have, for their stars, they don't exist. Non-union movie stars don't exist except, well, they do exist in other countries. Okay. But it gets complicated, but no, you don't have, this whole question of box up, who's a star that brings people back to the theater? Right. Well, they don't, I mean, maybe there are a couple of English actors who maybe do, and they're probably members of SAG anyway, because if they've done an American movie, they're members of the union. So they can't, it's very tricky. They cannot go to non-union for this stuff and still use union actors.
Right, because there are no non-union stars.
No.
So, yeah, of course. So they got to stick with you guys.
Right. That's the leverage.
I'm going to add my 2 cents.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Shut up.
Yeah. No, you're good.
Do you have to deal with that as a military choreographer? All this bullshit?
Well, yeah.
Yeah? Well, yeah.
I had
okay.
residuals and everything else. My last one was for $1.54 from Finland.
Wow.
So anyway,
Is that where you got your yacht?
That's
from,
right.
From that,
Yeah.
from that check?
I think John makes some excellent points.
I'm fascinated by this. This is like, yeah.
First of all, it's just like Major League Baseball or, these guys that make zillions of dollars are rare in
Yeah.
another world.
Right.
Most folks who work in the motion picture business or in the industry at all make money like regular people.
Right.
Right.
Like you and I. And, I mean, we're not buying 12 pools and getting a yacht or anything else.
Right.
And when the job is over, it's over. So
Yeah.
so while these guys are making a bucket of money, you're sitting there trying to figure out how to get where your next paycheck is coming from. And it's very important to protect folks that do this work. I'm often thought of, number one, I knew this woman that used to date, I think, Tom Seaver, or a Major League Baseball guy, and he was a star. And he had a used car salesman job in the off season. So they didn't pay him enough money to stay alive
Back then.
back then.
Yeah.
And these guys were making money hand over fist.
Right.
And it truly wasn't right. It wasn't fair.
Right. It's a problem that we're up against always because people think actors, they make tons of money. And some
Right.
of them do. But as you say, it's a small, very, very small group that make that. And they're, it's also one of the things that the union that's great about the union is it not only gives health insurance to working actors, but you can get a pension. I mean, I collect a pension that is very good, that is based on. Look, I've done so we're talking about my career. I've done over 100 movies.
Yeah.
A lot of them smaller parts, and a small part in Big, a small part in Sophie's Choice, but they add up. And back in those days, those movies, because there were only 3 networks,
Right.
there were no cable, there was no DVD, VH, anything, but there was the movie of the week. And then there was HBO. When your movie, Ghostbusters from 1983, is shown on television, you're going to get a piece of that licensing fee. So The Librarian in Ghostbusters is one, couple of scenes, great, memorable scenes that I, did in 1983. But every quarter, as long as people are still buying that movie, I mean, it's interesting. For the 30th anniversary, I think it was, of Ghostbusters 10 years ago, wherever it was, Amazon or whatever streamer had it, said, "Great, you can watch Ghostbusters for free." Great, that means I get nothing. But
Right.
but all of those movies, the producers have to pay a pension and health payment on top of, or it comes out of that residual. Either it's on top of it or it's in it, depending on something. But still, they pay 18. I mean, it used to be. I think it may be 20% now. 20 cents on the dollar into health, pension, and health, and it's invested, and over time, and and the union has a defined benefit pension, not a 401k.
Right.
It's a old-fashioned, and this is the thing. Of course, all the producers, they have 401ks. Everybody in corporate America has 401ks. But they're not going to do that to us because we need, it doesn't work for actors as well. And we have a defined benefit pension. But actors, young actors who now are in a streaming world, who don't have residuals like that, are not going to accumulate, are not going to be able to put together a living that is going to pay them a pension when they're old. somehow you have to
Pay for
fix that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I don't envy you guys having to go through this. It sounds very stressful, and you actually are part of the whole negotiations. It's got to be a nightmare. Well, let's get into.
There's one other piece to this puzzle.
Okay, go ahead.
I think it's an important piece. When you meet a great artist or a person who is very good at his artistic craft, John Rothman is right here. Those people can make you believe something with their eyes.
Yes.
You can move your body just a slight different way, and all of a sudden, you get it.
Yep.
Computers, thankfully, don't do that.
Yeah.
But if we take that away, I can recall one time, I'm a big jazz fan, and I went to a nightclub, and this guy was impersonating Benny Goodman. And, he hit all the notes. He put in the right order and everything else. But,
Right.
it was like, really?
Yeah.
He hit the notes, but he didn't, you couldn't feel it.
Yeah.
Because it's not Benny Goodman.
It's not Benny Goodman.
Yeah.
He didn't breathe the same way. I'll never forget, I also worked for Apple for many years. And when we bought Beats,
Yeah, the headphones.
the president of Beats came and addressed us and talked about how they wanted those headphones to hear Ornette Coleman playing soprano sax, Take a Breath. And it was weird because when I was 18 years old, I was as close as I am to you guys watching Ornette Coleman in New York City.
Yeah.
And I remember him taking a breath, and I just went like, wow. I mean, that's exactly what it
I know
was
exactly
about.
what you're talking about too,
Yeah.
and that's the difference. A few years ago, Joe Walsh put out an album called Analog Man, and I heard him talking about it on the Howard Stern show. And they were getting into analog versus digital, and he was talking about how when they recorded Hotel California, sometimes there's a mistake in there. And now with Pro Tools, you can go in and that number, that note that you tried to bend on the guitar, but you didn't bend it quite enough and it didn't reach where it was supposed to. Now you could go and correct that. Or in the old days, you'd have to go and play it again and get it right, or leave it. And that's the thing about listening to old music or watching an old film. Those mistakes are in there. And most people probably don't even think about it because you figure, well, if they're putting it out there, this must be what perfect is, right? But it's not. It's human. And you're taking the human element out of film.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, I think, with this whole thing. It's like, it's how we connect with stories and other people's lives. And when you do it as a computer, yes, computers are getting really good at making things look realistic, but it still looks fake. There's that, you're talking about the eyes, right? Or just like a little movement of the cheek muscle or something.
That's exactly right.
And that is all the difference sometimes in a performance. And you don't have to say a word, just with the look in your face, you get across what the character is feeling. Yep. And I think we lose that. Even as good as they'll get, they'll never be that way. But again, we're dealing with an upcoming generation that does not have that human connection like we do now. And that I think is going to change things.
That's
It's
a shame.
interesting going to Gettysburg.
Yeah. Let's get into Gettysburg.
One of this, so I just, been signing autographs for a couple of hours, and not a lot, but there were kids coming up with who and mind you, I don't have a very big part, and and General Reynolds is killed, on day one, but somehow it registered in some way with people, and these kids were like talking to me about it, and this movie, we're talking about, Ron this morning was talking about, this movie made by our generation about a generation, 100 years ago is going to be passed on to our kids and and the movie can still inspire, kids to have a sense of, that's what a movie is about.
Yeah.
That's what it can do. I want to, be a part of that or something. And that's I think, hopeful in the sense that we're still here 30 years later talking about this movie.
Yeah.
And these people are coming here to, to see the director's cut of this movie and all of that. That's and as I say, I'm not promoting it because they all own it already.
In fact, don't watch it. Don't go near it.
Watch it backwards. It's
Well,
okay.
watch it backwards. No, but it's like I was saying before, like we would not be having this conversation today if that movie were never made. That movie, I was always into history and the Civil War and stuff, but for whatever reason, Gettysburg kind of just never really caught my attention until this movie came out. And then, but even when it came out, it took, I think, 2 years before I saw it. And I saw it in a military history class because we were going to come here on our field trip, and he showed it to us in the days leading up to the trip, and I fell in love with I loved the movie. And then I got here, and I was like, man, they did a really good job finding places that looked like this, not realizing it's shot here, right? And then it just caused an addiction for me. And I must have seen that movie a million times. I went through 2 VHS sets because I wore them out. And I loved that movie. And it's very surreal to be sitting here with you right now and to have interviewed all the people that I've interviewed so far. Because I never thought in the 3,000 times I watched that movie that I would ever, sit and talk with you guys. So I know hundreds of people that say the same thing about how this movie got them into something that they are very passionate about today. And it got them wanting to visit this place, which means a lot to us. I mean, I moved here twice. Like it's in my blood. Like I'm addicted to Gettysburg. I don't know what it is, and I don't want to figure out what it is. I just accept it. I love this place. This is my home. And I never would have looked into it if it wasn't for this movie.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it did something.
Yeah.
And it's a great story to tell, and the performances are good. And, like with General Reynolds, like you said, like it's a small part in the theatrical release, but thank God we have the director's cut available.
A little bigger.
And it's a bigger role, and I think it's a better role, like a fuller experience of General Reynolds. But you're right, like before that was available to everybody was sad. In fact, I watched it with Cindy the other night, my girlfriend. She had never seen it before. And I said, well, these people are going to be in town, so you might as well watch this, And when General Reynolds died, she went, aw. Like, like it was...
No, the death was beautiful.
Yeah.
They really, they put that... I mean, what did Ron say today? It's based on the death of General Marsh? Or something?
No, it was
the painting.
General Wolfe, the painting of the death of Wolfe at the Battle of Quebec.
Yeah.
And Ron came to me and handed me the picture and said, can you recreate this? I said, sure. And we did it.
Yeah, you did it.
And you did a great job. I mean, I think I want to address the one thing that you're talking about that's really important. And it goes even back to what we were talking about before. Human beings made this. Living, individual human beings who had all the fears and all the loves and all the hates and all the prejudices and all the crap that is human. Mm-hmm. And it comes through in the screen, and people relate to that.
Yeah.
They get it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, when Sam Elliott is up there, waiting for me to come, and I'm coming with my, soldiers, my troops to help him, and you see him, the tear run down his cheek. He wipes a tear, and then he comes down and says, like, I never liked high command.
Yes.
I never liked, you guys, but thank God.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a very human,
Well, you know what?
it's this kind of moment.
It's a great moment.
That's what this movie is full of those. I mean, Chamberlain.
Can you imagine the relief that Buford had to have felt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In real life, he's like getting run over by hundreds of thousands of guys.
Yeah.
And he wants to save the lives of his men, of course.
Sure.
And nobody.
Yeah.
And this guy shows up. Whoa, thank you.
And he's still ahead of the troops, but he knows at least they're not far away.
That's right.
Yeah. Another really human moment in that scene, which is only in the director's cut, is when you're giving some orders to your staff, and you turn around and you say to the guy, Joe, how can you see through those? And he's got mud on his glasses.
That is.
But that was because it was just the tension of the moment, and then you look at that, and then there's a really human moment of levity there, which I wish they had kept in the theatrical release because that was really
that
good.
Moment maybe
No,
maybe not.
It's director's cut. No,
You know who that guy was?
you?
No.
Who?
No, he was the costume designer. That was Michael Boyd.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe.
Joe.
Yeah, I mean, and then the fact that I say we go to that my adjutant or whatever, go into town and tell these people to get inside. This is liable to be a little dispute here today.
A little dispute. An understatement.
Yeah.
So what did
that gives and that's what you're saying. It makes him a real person, not just
a statue.
a statue.
Yeah.
Or an AI.
Or
Yes.
Who
Yes.
pretend to be, I don't know, maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I think you can see through people that are pretending to be something they're not.
Of course.
Yeah.
And that doesn't do anything. It's just pretend.
Right.
It doesn't mean a thing.
No.
But when you actually can help somebody feel what was going on at the time, you've really done a great service to our generation, the next generation, and the people that really did it.
Yeah, you do. Somebody in the comment section says, fun fact, an old acquaintance of mine shot Reynolds in the movie. He also is the same guy that almost shot Kevin Costner at the beginning of Dances with Wolves, but gets popped between the eyes. So I guess his friend's a reenactor who's the guy that they have
In the
taking the
tree.
shot at you. Yeah.
I know his name,
Who?
Jim Batchelder.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's
Is it related to the Batchelder,
He lives here.
John Batchelder? Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
might be,
interesting.
Yeah.
So when was that? In the fall or the spring when you guys were here?
It was summer.
It was summertime.
August.
No. I'm sorry. Recently, when we did the video with Gary.
I think it was spring.
I think so, too. Early spring.
Things were just starting to come out on the trees. It was
We haven't
early
seen each
spring.
other for 30 years.
No.
Yeah.
And so what was that like? Because we went back, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, the American Battlefield Trust has some videos out of the actors going back to the locations where some of their iconic scenes were filmed. And we went to where General Reynolds was killed. What was it like going back there? Did you recognize it at all? Because apparently there's a building there now that wasn't there then.
Well, in general,
You can recognize the hills, but there was a farm there.
was recognizable. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I mean, it's part of the experience of part of the great thing about being an actor. And I see if I say this, like I've been in these negotiations and they've been trying, to say the least, and people, are trying to fix things that are wrong with being an actor and an actor's life, and trying to, and so there's a lot of complaining about it, and for good reason, but to be reminded of, wait a minute, this is also a great thing to do with your life, because the experiences you have these incredibly rich experiences, and you create relationships out of them that are deep in a way, even though they're only it could only be a week or a day or something like that. It's interesting because 30 years ago, and Dale and I were just saying, we were in our early 40s when we did this, and now 74. It's vivid. I can remember that battlefield, that scene. So like viscerally, sensorily, it was extremely hot. That uniform was extremely, hot. That horse was, I was going to say, that horse, I rode the greatest horse. That horse, his name was Frog Prince, was a 40-year-old stallion.
Really?
That pulled among his many credits, he pulled a caisson in Kennedy's
No
funeral.
kidding.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
And he belonged to a reenactor. We had come down earlier I don't know, before they started production, for people who are going to do a lot of riding, which is a lot of people, to work on riding.
Like a camp.
Like a riding thing. And a wrangler would take us out to a field, and we got a horse, and we rode around. It was really fun. And I thought I had this horse I thought that would be my horse, and we were getting along great. And then when I got there, no, that's not your horse. You've got this other horse. And I look at this black, gorgeous, giant black stallion. But this horse was, that first day when I was talking about coming on the field and everybody saluting me as General Reynolds, and there were marks, where you're supposed to go, because obviously the camera has to focus on it's funny, okay. Somebody who I had a line about Abner Doubleday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go tell Abner Doubleday to get here quick.
Pretty damn quick, I think it was.
Yeah. Now, was that the guy who invented baseball?
That's the guy who allegedly
invented baseball.
He's credited with it
too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's funny, this morning, they were handing me baseballs to autograph.
Really?
And
Abner Doubleday would have been
I
good.
thought, well, okay, that makes sense. I mean, there were baseballs with Civil War, Lee with Civil War people on it. They must have gotten them from a...
Actually, after Reynolds was killed, Abner Doubleday assumed command of the First Corps.
Right.
See? And this is one of my memories of coming on the thing in that fabulous horse, and my line, so the horse has to stop on his mark so they can focus on him, say, get Abner Doubleday, tell Abner Doubleday to come here double quick, or whatever the military jargon was, on the double. And I said, tell Admiral Doubleday. Tell Admiral
Bring
Doubleday.
the Navy.
Get Admiral Doubleday on the phone. So it was like such a, wait a minute. Not Admiral. It's Abner Doubleday. Okay.
Let's add to the complication of what he's talking about.
Okay.
So the First Army Corps in the real Battle of Gettysburg attacked in a formation called en echelon, where the divisions came kind of stacked on one another, but like cantilever.
Right.
And so there was a group that was a little bit to the right of the first group, and then a little bit to the right of the second group was a third group.
Right.
And he had to ride in between them to get to this point, and these guys are marching into battle. And, of course, the bombs are going off and what have you. And it was very difficult to do that, especially we didn't know what the horse was going to do. We had good wranglers, but, we didn't know if John was going to be a great rider. There were several people that weren't.
Right.
They were not regular people, but anyway.
Yeah. But the horse knew what he was doing.
But the horse,
oh my God! I mean, this horse hits the mark. This horse, because the horse was in glory after the Kennedy field. He was in glory. He worked his resume at that point was much better than mine.
He was like 16 and a half hands. He was a big horse.
Great.
Yeah, he's a huge horse.
A great horse, and Sam Elliott is a experienced horse riding actor.
Right.
And to do scenes doing a scene on horseback is just so great because you can't fake. I mean, it makes you so honest. You're sort of connected. It's like being connected to this enormous animal breathing below you between your legs.
I know.
You're on it. It makes you grounded and honest. And oh, I love that horse.
It's funny because you mentioned that it was other movies and everything and knew what to do. I had an experience out in Wyoming, and I swear to God, because this horse was a retired stunt horse from the movies, I think it saved my life because we were chasing a herd of mule deer for fun, and.
I'm sure the mule deer loved that.
Well, the guide's horse was obsessed with them, and anytime they would see them, he's going to take off, and I'm going to let him. You don't have to follow. Catch up if you want to. And I'm like, no, I'm going for this. I'm out west, man. This is I'm doing this. So we're going full gallop, and neither I nor the horse see a little bit of a ditch, like a runoff, and his front legs go in it, and he starts to almost somersault, but
He put the skids on.
He caught himself and righted himself. It took a second to just stop and then stood himself up and then went right back into the gallop. I had to stop him because my saddle came loose. But I swear to God, that saved my life. Like he was used to being tripped from the old days in the film, I guess, because they used to trip him, or I don't know what the hell they did. But whatever, he knew how to get back on his feet. There's something about those animals.
my God.
I know what you're talking about. With
I was raised on a horse farm. My father trained horses for a living, and they have a great sense of you.
yeah.
And they can feel your feelings and emotions. My brother could never ride. I was a pretty good rider.
Because he was scared.
He was scared. Every time he got on a horse, he just threw him off. And
No, I love them.
but they're big animals. However, they feel. It's not like they're sitting there having a conversation with you, but they feel you.
Yeah.
Have you read Horse?
Yeah. As a matter of
book?
fact, yeah.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, and that's what it's about, right?
Yeah. There's just a wonderful simpatico with those animals.
Yeah.
And I live in the city now. I haven't ridden a horse in 20 years maybe. But
Make me want to get on a horse now.
I know.
I spent my
Let's go
entire
find
youth
some.
on
But
a horse.
speaking of horses, here's a little good fun fact about Gettysburg. You know, Ron
Maxwell.
Maxwell, our director, was
heard of him.
sort of obsessed with authenticity. I mean, the level of authentic in this movie is like incomparable, and it's obviously paid off in many ways. But when I looked at in that first day, and when I went up to get, outfitted in my uniform, and I looked at the McClellan saddle, I thought, oh shit, I am not getting on a wooden saddle. I mean, he had it. I don't know if anybody actually used it. They were just there. But, I mean, thank goodness it was like a normal saddle. But there was a wooden, the McClellan
It has
saddle.
a wooden tree, yeah.
A wooden tree.
The McClellan saddle, by the way, is a great saddle.
Doesn't it hurt?
No. Because they put leather on it and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you can get, back in those days, the officers in the United States Army rode horses in what they called dragoon style. So they didn't do any posting or anything else. The stirrups were the length of your legs.
Right.
And you rode straight-legged, and you just rode with the horse.
Right.
And you can't get thrown from a McClellan saddle.
Huh.
It's almost impossible.
They are comfortable. I rode one once.
They're comfortable.
But did anybody in the movie use them?
Yeah.
Oh,
For
yeah.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, they did.
Yeah, yours wasn't a McClellan. It was a
No,
it was
he
a,
had
an English saddle. I don't know. It was like a.
It had the silver
Yeah.
horn.
Yeah.
It has a name, and I've forgotten it.
Now was that because that's what Reynolds?
Yes.
Aha.
Oh.
So they were so down to the saddle they were getting the
Oh,
details.
we were, believe me, every
Yeah.
night.
Wow.
Every night. I got in so much trouble sometimes because I'd argue with them. Yeah.
About that's not right.
Uniforms, and this isn't right, and that's not right.
Now
yeah.
clearly you weren't doing anything about the beards. That wasn't your department.
No, I couldn't.
But the beards were authentic. I mean, in other words,
Style-wise.
Longstreet's beard was authentic.
They were difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were, and it was.
You know what? I knew you didn't have a beard, but you looked great as John Reynolds.
Yeah.
And who cares?
No, it doesn't matter.
At the end of the day,
Everybody knows it's fake.
we got yeah, that's it. No, we got
a
the
movie.
emotions. It's only a movie.
Yeah. Oh, but no, but it's not. See, that's the thing.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not only a movie. And I know you were saying before while we were waiting, you said that we were just working. It was just a job for us. Like we didn't, you don't know that what you're working on is going to be something that you're going to be sitting here 30 years later.
Buddy, I'm sitting there signing autographs for these people. I'm thinking, if I could have, is there any way I could have imagined
Right.
while I was
I
doing the
didn't imagine
scene and people were showing me, they were giving me pictures of, the scene with me and Sam and I thought, God, I mean, if somebody told 30 years from now, you're going to be in Gettysburg signing autographs of this moment.
Right.
No.
You wouldn't have believed
People
it.
who weren't even born yet.
Yeah.
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 Get you to sign your name. Yeah.
Now,
It's true.
You have, I'm looking at a million things here in your filmography. You've done a lot of stuff. Of all the other things that you've done, has there been something like Gettysburg where there has?
I've had a very fortunate career in that regard, that I've been in some
But I mean,
truly great movies.
where 30 years later, you're...
Well, it's not 30 years, but I have to say, like in 1993,
Yeah.
was a movie
Yeah.
that had that same kind of, historical importance.
Yeah.
That's a great director, a wonderful cast, creating something that I believe, even though people had trouble with it, it's a movie that will last.
Oh,
People
yeah.
will go back and see, and and making it, unlike Gettysburg, where, we were fighting a war, but General Longstreet was holding court in a bar up there for the officers, and it was fun. It was a boy's, a dream, a kind of a dream to be a general in the Union Army and to be able to. United 93 was not fun.
No.
It was really not fun.
It was a lot of work.
And you lived through the event too.
You
so
did.
I mean, are you based out of New York?
I live in New York, but that movie was shot in England.
But I know. But I'm saying, were you there in New York at the time of 9/11?
I was.
So
I saw the first plane go in. I thought, oh, that's really horrible. A little plane has crashed into the South Tower.
Yeah.
And then the second, yes.
Yeah.
My children were in. My son went through the tunnel because he went to school in Brooklyn. He went through the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel, to go to 15 minutes before he just got through, and then he couldn't get home for a week.
Right.
It was and I live in downtown Manhattan, so the smell, the smoke, the whole was very. And then it was like a year later that we're making it, and the call sheet for that would say for that section of making the movie, it would say hijacking to crash, and that means they would do the entire thing from hijacking to the crash. And they had a camera. It's amazing. A camera, we called it the bungee cam. It was on a track down the middle of the plane. We were on a plane, and the cinematographer was on a chair that his sister pushed down the aisle, and he would do it like that, and then they put it all together and made something amazing out of it. So, but that was also an incredibly intense, meaningful thing. And, Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, but Ghostbusters is a big movie. People still love that movie.
Well, but this is sort of the thing that I'm talking about in actor's life. So the morning that I shot the library scene in Ghostbusters, it was a very early call. It was at the public library. It was maybe 6 o'clock. So I was in the makeup trailer at 5 in the morning with Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and
Ernie Hudson?
No, not Ernie Hudson.
Harold Ramis?
Harold Ramis. Yeah, thank you. May he rest in peace. And it was just hilarious. These guys were so alive to each other and funny and fun, and it was just just great.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. In TV, I've had some great work in television.
A lot of Taxi? No, that's 2004.
Well, the funny thing about Taxi, it's one crazy scene with Queen Latifah, but people love that. But that's a movie. That's also a movie people love. Devil Wears Prada. You were in a lot of I Heart Huckabees. Ghostbusters, Very little in that. But in Devil, but on the happy ending of Devil Wears Prada, and that's another thing when people say to me, have I seen your work or something? Have you seen Devil Wears Prada? Every woman in
I haven't
America
seen it.
has seen that movie.
When you came to work on Gettysburg, you were working on in a soap opera, right? Was it?
Well, I was in a soap for As the World Turns or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you like
back in
soap
those
opera
days.
acting? It's kind of different, isn't it?
Yeah, I never liked it.
Yeah.
I never liked it, and I was never, even though
I shouldn't have brought it up.
maybe I was playing. I was playing a brain surgeon.
Yep.
And you had to it was not my favorite, and soap operas have kind of disappeared. Back in the day, a lot of terrific actors worked on soaps, and it was a whole thing, but it's gone.
That's literally a tribute to Ron Maxwell, because he was pretty much involved in the acting scene in New York, And he spent a lot of time finding these people, finding folks to be in this film. And a lot of folks came out of New York.
He had a great casting director. She was like one of the premier. Her name was Joy Todd.
Yeah, Joy Todd, I remember.
She was the premier. She was like a premier casting director.
What's going on?
Who's
Are you looking at pictures?
We're looking at pictures.
Here, let me see. I can show the camera.
We're not paying any attention to you.
I know. Here's the horse we're talking about.
Yes, that horse. And the guy, I really want to know who the guy. What happened to the guy who was my lieutenant? I liked him a lot.
Oh, he was a reenactor, wasn't he? Mm-mm. No, he was an actor.
No, he was an actor who I think I looked him up once, and he became a comedian, sort of a stand-up comedian and a writer, I think, in L.A. This guy.
Oh.
Got like a whole
Credited.
stack.
His name is something like John Heffernan or something. John.
Let's see. Maybe somebody will know him.
I recognize his face right away.
How about that? Oh, look.
Yeah, that's a good look.
Wow, you got a lot of. Oh, this is a cool shot here.
Oh, yeah, I could see this. The woman who had So we did a lot of talking about this horse, and there's that John next to me. But look at that horse.
Yeah, he's a beauty. And he was 40 years old, huh?
40, 43, I think they told me.
43. That's amazing.
He's gone now, but
so
wow.
now, have you ridden horses on film before Gettysburg?
No.
So this was your first time?
No.
First time ever on a horse? Period?
No, I rode. As a kid, I rode horses, and my sister had a horse, and we had a house in Cape Cod, and one more. And this is actually a picture that's a tribute to the gentleman sitting on my right, to Dale. Look at that battle.
Oh, that's nice. That's like a painting.
Yeah, except for Karen Collins, who's the woman in the turquoise.
Oh, yeah. That doesn't quite work.
But
oh, yeah.
But there's that one guy in there with that hat that he has on that looks like it was made out of a blanket.
Right, yeah.
That really bothered me. I was, to this day, I'm still bothered by that hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did you just ask me? I'm sorry.
About horseback riding. So, yeah.
Oh, well, no, it's worth saying this because I realized that the horse was like so key for the part, and I had not ridden since I was a kid. So I found a riding coach in Queens, in like a park in Queens, Forest Park in Queens.
Yeah.
And I said to her, I want you to, how do I look like I really know what I'm doing? And she was very good at, you're looking through the horse's ears, you're holding the reins in this way, she coached me, and then I don't know how many times, it wasn't just once, it was just so great. I would go out to Forest Park in Queens and go riding with her.
Yeah.
That was nice. And then we came here and we did more riding. Yeah, and then that horse. That was just amazing.
There's a couple of things. So every year here at Gettysburg, we have a giving spree, and the Seminary Ridge Museum does like a 24-hour thing, and I go to it to show my support. I had to fall asleep at like 1 o'clock in the morning because I can't stay up late anymore. But we watch movies, and so of course we watched the movie Gettysburg. But last year, we watched Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. And, it's like, and they said beforehand, there's like, well, there's two Gettysburg connections. One is there's the Battle of Gettysburg depicted, and also John Rothman, who played General Reynolds, is in the movie. And sure enough, there you are.
Jefferson Davis, no less.
Yeah. Right.
The chief vampire.
I did a lot of because we shot that in New Orleans, which was a great place to make a movie, really. And there's a museum in New Orleans.
Oh, it's a great museum.
A great museum.
Yeah.
To Jefferson Davis. Jefferson Davis house or something. The dress in which he escaped. I don't know. He was quite a character. Was not a very big part, but it was very funny that at the end of it, when I sell the when the vampire, I call the vampires say they show a map of Gettysburg.
Yeah.
We're holding a map, and then it turns to sort of
Yeah,
blood.
yeah.
Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
I got invited to be on I turned this job down, but this was just before. I think it was between Last of the Mohicans and Gettysburg.
Okay.
They made a movie, and Martin Sheen was in it for a New York Minute, about a regiment of Confederate zombies,
Oh,
the Alabama 43rd.
okay.
And they wanted me to be the historic guy on it. And I'm
It's a zombie movie.
zombie movie.
Yeah, what historic
They
nothing.
did whatever zombies do.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
And they even had like the way the regiments are organized. There's the colonel, lieutenant colonel, major, adjutant, and the surgeon. Those are the big five that run a regiment. And they even had the colonel, lieutenant colonel, major, adjutant, and the fortune teller.
I'm just noticing I'm not speaking. He's speaking into a mic. I'm not speaking into a mic.
You're speaking on. You got it on your.
Oh, I got it on my.
It's right under your chin.
Okay.
So you
Pull-
get
pull
to
it up
see
a little
your
bit, though.
face. See, I'm hiding.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a crazy world.
So, 30 years later, you're obviously enjoying yourself here so far. I mean, your hand's probably a little tired, right? But I mean, this has got to be cool.
No, this is very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. I'm very, very, very glad I did it. Very glad. And I was just thinking about something about how great that seminary museum was, which, when we were here last, that all the medical, I mean, that's an amazing.
Oh, that's my favorite floor is the medical floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing is people cannot help themselves when they go there, especially for the first time. They go on the lawn and they look up to the cupola and they go, "What goes, John?" Everybody does
really?
it. Yeah, we all do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then if they're up there, they'll yell down to nobody, "There's a devil to pay." Everybody recreates the whole scene. I'm telling you, it is a cult classic.
Yeah.
There's a whole nerddom around this film. And, you guys, thanks. You did a great job making the film, and we thank you very much for doing it.
Thank you.
Thank
This
you.
was totally fun, and I have to say, are these podcasts? I mean, I know this is live stream, but is it also available as a
Anywhere you find podcasts, the audio will be there as well.
Yeah,
Dressing
because I
Gettysburg.
would actually like to. I'll probably send this to my colleagues on the negotiating committee because I think we did a good job.
Sure.
Especially the AI part of this conversation.
Did I do a good job at representing the film viewer?
Absolutely.
Yes, you did.
I think you did,
And
yeah.
Should I go to the negotiating table now to represent us?
If you
There
get
is
us
no
some money,
negoti-
yes,
at the-
absolutely.
At the moment, there is no negotiating table.
Well,
but it will
I'm
come
going to
back.
represent what we would be willing to pay for, and we're not willing to pay for computer fake John Rothman. We want the real John Rothman.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Well, you could have them.
Guys, thank you very
All
much
right.
for doing this. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank
and
you.
enjoy the rest of your stay here.
Thanks very
Let's
much.
get
you.
something to eat.
Thumbs
and
up.
don't forget, thank you to Joe, ladies and gentlemen, back
Thank you,
there. He ran
Joe.
the cameras.
Joe, great
Thank you,
job.
Joe. Let's turn the camera on Joe so we can see him waving.
great.
There he is. Wave, Joe. There you go. Thank you.
All right. Well,
and
this
that's
was.
it.
I'm so glad we did this.
I am
I'm so
too.
glad we did it in person.
Me too.
Instead of on the phone.
I can't stand doing it over the phone.
It would
I
have
love
been
this.
really hard to do it.
Yeah, I thank you so much for taking the time.
And you. It was good. We had a
Yeah.
good.
Good.
And thank you all for
We had a great time
watching.
over here last time.
Yeah.
Well, take care of yourselves, everybody. Thank you.